What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my world. It's your girl, Klassi Gem here, and for my latest project, I turned this men's button-down to a really cute, vintage, off-the-shoulder lace-up shirt. If you're interested in seeing how I did that, stay tuned. So for this project, you're going to need a seam ripper, and you're going to use this seam ripper to seam rip the collar of the button-down. Once you have that off, don't dispose it, just put it aside. We're going to utilize that later. For this next part, we are also going to seam rip the pocket that is on the shirt off. Measure a comfortable distance between the top of your shoulder to the top of your breast and mark that on the shirt. You're also going to make a 45-degree angle from this line through the sleeve of the shirt. Once your lines are straight, cut along these lines halfway through the shirt. To ensure that we have straight lines, fold over the shirt halfway through and continue cutting along those lines. Once you're finished cutting this part, also place this piece aside because you will be using that later. We also want to get rid of the buttons because it's just throwing off the vibe. Also, measure out a comfortable length that you want your shirt and cut your shirt halfway through. And again, save those scraps, we're going to be using those later. We want to seal our shirt back closed, so turn your shirt inside out and serge those two pieces together. If you don't have a serger, you can just use the straight stitch on your regular sewing machine. Measure out the width of one side of the shirt and mark the midpoint on the top and the bottom. In order to get this shirt to fit perfectly for me, I'm going to make 4.5 inch rectangles, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. I'm measuring out the length of the rectangle so that it's about 2 inches from the top and 2 inches from the bottom. This gives it a bell effect, and it'll also help give it a ruffle effect when we overcast it later. Now we've flipped our shirt over and we're repeating the same process, measuring out the width of the shirt and measuring out 4-inch rectangles on both sides. Now this is a little different because we're going to make our rectangles a little sideways so that our tailors look more deliberate in the front and not so basic. To make this process a lot easier, I would highly recommend folding the shirt in half and then adding pins in the points where the rectangle is so that you don't have to worry about getting the rectangles in the exact same spot. Once your pins are in place, use a ruler to connect all ends and then remove the pins when you're done. We're now prepping our fabric to sew along our tailors. The easiest way to assure that you have a straight stitch is to fold at the midpoint of the rectangles and add a pin on the outer part of the rectangle. This will be where you are sewing. And before y'all come for my knuckles and my ashy hands, listen. It's fucking cold outside, it's dry, I'm washing my hands all day, it's a pandemic, mind your business. Thank you. This is how those tailors looking so far. Not bad, right? Now, you want to take the back piece of fabric that we put aside earlier, and you want to trace out a rectangle on this very specific part of the shirt. We're going to use that part because there's typically a double piece of fabric here, and we're going to need 2 pieces of fabric cut exactly alike for this part. Now I'm drawing a 4-inch rectangle, I'm marking the midpoint, and I'm drawing a 2-inch rectangle right on top of that. And we're going to connect the points of the rectangle. And you should have a shape that looks like this. Now you want to cut this piece off, and you also want to make sure that you repeat the same process on the other side of the back part of this shirt. And when you're done, you should be able to have a piece that looks like this that splits into 2 separate fabrics. Look at that, magic. Now, you remember that collar that we seam ripped earlier? We're gonna use that now. So take that out, and now what you're gonna do is align it to the top part of that piece that you just cut out. Stay with me, y'all. I know it's confusing. It's all gonna come together in a second. Now, you want to make the same shape of the piece that you just cut off, but smaller, and you want to only attach it to the top part of that piece of fabric. Now take your time with this part and really make sure that this piece really fits on top, because this is going to be the inner part of where your strings will go, and this part needs to be sturdy. Using a straight stitch, combine the 2 pieces of fabric that we just cut earlier, but do not combine the bottom piece, which is the long straight piece. Leave that part open because you will be flipping this right side in to attach the collar piece. Repeat that same process on the other piece, and now you want to insert the collar and sew a straight stitch along the tip of the collar on the inside of the fabric. Now you want to prep your fabric for hole punches. What I'm doing now is I'm taking a ruler and I'm measuring out 1 inch and marking a point, and this will be the point where I will be hole punching to insert my eyelets. Next, take your eyelet. I received this eyelet from Amazon, and you're going to take the hole punch part and hole punch out each point that you have marked on your fabric. Next, you want to take your eyelet, insert the eyelet into the hole, and then use your eyelet punch to squeeze the eyelets shut. Take those 2 pieces and pin them to the center part of the 2 squares on the back of the shirt and sew them together with a straight stitch.
But mankind won't be destroyed. The fact that you and I are working here today is evidence of that.
Next, we're preparing our machine for an overcast stitch. I'm setting my machine to a zigzag stitch, and I am increasing the width of the stitch and decreasing the stitch length of the stitch. and I'm overcasting all raw edges of my fabric. Now we want to make our strings for our shirt. Take the lower piece of the shirt that we set aside earlier and mark 1 inch across 2 lengths and cut those strips out and serge them together. Then fold each half in within each other and then fold it in again and then sew a straight stitch along that. Now we want to put it all together. With the string that you just created, lace up the back of your shirt. Now you want to grab some elastic and we're going to go ahead and sew the elastic on the top perimeter of our shirt. After we sew our elastic, that is the last step. This is how it looks when we put it all together. The top part has a nice ruffle effect. And here's the complete look. I think this looks really cute. It has a really nice vintage look to it. You can wear this to date night, or if you're a loner like me because no one loves you, you can just wear it to set thirst traps on social media. But anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial today. And if my ashy knuckles didn't scare you away, please like, comment, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.